Look behind me. See that? No words. I got no words for it. Nothing. Good morning. It is November 2nd today and it's cold and wet. We got, I think, 2 inches of rain, 50 mils over the last couple days. So things are really soggy. And I don't think we'll get back into the fields for a little bit. So today I got some odd jobs I'm gonna maybe try to do. A little project that I'm gonna work on. And I think Jack's coming home to help today, but I'll show you that once we get inside the shop. I talked in my cooking corn video about having to climb the leg to do to flip a valve back and forth between the dryer and the distributor because I had an electronic switch that wasn't working. This is the switch. So I picked it up yesterday, and just like that video, I'm mentally preparing myself to climb the leg to replace the old switch that I had there with the new one that's in my backpack with all my tools. I don't like climbing it in crappy weather because it's kind of drizzly and wet, but we don't have a choice. Sometimes as farmers, we have to do stuff whether the weather cooperates or not. So I'm going to do that. I'm not going to take the camera up. Actually, you know what? I will take the camera up because it's not raining too bad. So I'll throw the camera in the backpack and kind of just show you what I got to deal with up there. Oh, it's cold up here. Whew. The view's not too great today because it's wet and damp, but this is what I'm dealing with right here. This motor moves the diverter back and forth. The diverter's right in this area here, so I have to put the new switch right there. Here's the other one. So I gotta do that. And my fingers are frozen already. My gloves are wet from climbing up the leg. So I'll get at it here. I'm gonna put you away before you get too wet. And I'll try to get this done. So it's still minus cold up here. Ooh, the wind just makes it so cold today up here, and a little bit of moisture. My hands were freezing. I was hoping to get this done with one trip up the leg, but sadly that didn't transpire the way I planned. So I had to climb all the way down because there was a fuse that was blowing for this power unit here to make it run, basically for those switches right there. Because that was gone, the motor turned on, it went all the way over to its full limit, and luckily it didn't break anything. But I was a little worried that it might have. So I had to climb back down, put a new fuse in, everything lit up the way it was supposed to, and now it's working the way it's supposed to as well. And I'll just show you a second because I have a little switch up here that lets me flip the diverter while I'm up here, just in case we have some issues. My great thinking electrician Eric put a nice, he calls it a jog switch up here. So I'll show you how that works. I'll put a cover on and then I can head back down. So, good to go. Just to give you guys an update on corn. Just gonna shut this second, make it a little quieter. We've been at corn actually the last 2 days. We started back at it kind of Sunday evening to try to get enough corn to get the dryer going again. So we could start it yesterday, which was Monday, November 4th. And then Monday we also took some corn off. So kind of we're sitting at, I think we took about 19 acres off yesterday, or took 19 acres off Sunday. We took 16 acres off yesterday. We're gonna start a 19 acre field this morning and see what the moisture is. We're really struggling here. We got corn that is anywhere from 33 to 35%, and the forecast has snow in it for the next 14 days almost, and I don't expect much drying to happen in the field, so we're just gonna kind of take our lumps and get it harvested. It's difficult to harvest high moisture corn like that, and it's difficult to dry. So I've been struggling a little bit with the dryer in terms of what temperature to have the set point at for the corn to kind of call it dry. So now I'm gonna have to climb up into the bin and just go down and walk around the corn, grab a sample like I did in the other video that I had, and just see where we're sitting and if we're doing an okay job. What we run into with high moisture corn like this is called moisture rebound. Is that there's so much water in the kernel, because we want it to be 15% moisture when we're all said and done. You know, at 35%, we have to take 20% of that moisture out, and that's a lot of water. And because of that, sometimes we dry the outside of the kernel, and we actually don't get into the inner part of the kernel to get that moisture extracted. So when I say moisture rebound, what happens is that inside kernel moisture actually starts to wick back out after the corn's been dry for a couple days, and we get what we call moisture rebound. So we might test it at 15%, but in 2 days it actually might go up to 16 or 17 because that moisture is equalizing through the kernel again and coming out the center of it. So it just makes drying corn that wet really difficult. So to make sure we're doing a good job, as I said, I'm gonna go grab a sample and just see where we're at. Whew. Today's 5-minute workout brought to you by GSI Top Dry. Keeping farmers fit for the last, I don't know how long. I have a sample right here, and it doesn't actually look too bad in terms of damaged corn and other stuff, but I'm going to do a moisture on it. We'll see where we're at. Based on my kind of mental calculations, which can be a little dodgy, but I think yesterday I over dried about 2/3 of what was dried in that time frame, and a third was under dried. So I'm just emptying out the top dry right now into another storage bin, and I'll finish the kind of cooling process in there. It's not hot by any means. It's probably 60 or 70 degrees Fahrenheit. What will happen as it unloads this bin, it will blend off kind of the wetter corn and the over dried corn, so that it probably is about right. And then after it's kind of completely cooled through aeration, we should be good to go. So I'm kind of doing that. It might take about an hour and a half. I don't think I'll get this dryer fired up until, I don't know, maybe 11:30, which is fine because I'll let it run late into the night probably, or I might just let it run through the night, making sure that the generator's good for fuel before I go to bed and a whole bunch of other stuff. But that's a long time away yet because we still got all today. So I'm just letting this bin empty, and that's kind of my controller I'm using right there to do all that stuff. So patiently wait. Well, just fixed the shear bolt in a buggy that broke, so the auger wouldn't turn because it kind of protects it from, I don't know what it does. But it's working again. So I go back to combining. We got about 12 acres done here this afternoon, kind of since lunchtime, and the stuff's a little bit drier, which is nice. So it's a mere 29%, which is under 30, which I guess is good. So that might go through the dryer a little quicker. And depends what the weather does. It actually kind of snowed. Not really snow, it was more ice pellets. So we had some ice pellets kind of when we started up here around 12:30. So sun's shining now, wind's quite cool, but as the saying goes, we'll make hay while the sun shines, or we'll combine corn while the sun shines, I guess. Anyways, so I'm gonna get back at it here. And we only got probably 8 acres left in this little piece, and we're done. And we'll probably move to another farm and see what it's like. Ground conditions are just marginal for making sure we can no-till some soybeans into the corn stalks next year. So we kind of got to pick and choose our fields, and we'll see what we'll maybe try another one here after we get done here. So anyways, I'm gonna get back at that, and we'll talk to you later. Good morning. Wednesday morning, and I have a make work project I got to deal with today. In my infinite wisdom, yesterday I decided to empty the dryer and put some of that dry corn into a different bin to try to blend off, as I said, the too dry and the too wet stuff to hopefully have just right. And I forgot to turn the distributor head after I completed that process back to the overhead. So basically we can select the bins on where we want the leg to put grain into. And wet corn for us goes into our overhead bin, and I left it on the bin that we put dry corn into. So I have about 4,000 bushels of wet corn on top of my dry corn. I think we'll be okay because I'm hoping there's enough depth in the bin that we can get all the wet corn out. So what I'm gonna do here shortly is shut down the dryer, because I can't move corn and dry at the same time because I only have one grain leg. That's the problem with my system, but it's the most cost-effective way I could do it because I didn't want to put up 2 legs. So what I gotta do is shut the dryer down, and then while the dryer is not doing what it should do, I'm gonna move some of this other corn around so that we can get the wet corn out of the dry corn bin, because it doesn't belong there. So that's this morning's job. No good, rotten, horrible job, but saving grace, the sun's shining, and maybe we will get at corn today, but not till late today. That's why I worked last night till about 2:30 in the morning actually, just to get enough corn to let the dryer run overnight, because I knew I was going to do this in the morning. So normally I wouldn't let the dryer run overnight because I'm not comfortable with it yet to make sure it can do that, but last night I didn't care. I let it run all night and it's fine, which is good. So anyways, I'm gonna just go out there. I just had to find some hearing protection, and I'm gonna deal with this. Not looking forward to it. On a different note, it did get cold last night. Yeah, that's ice in the puddles. That's why I winterized my sprayer yesterday, because I heard it was, well, I know it's going to get cold. There's actually a couple nights they're talking in the next 7 or 8 days of -9 degrees Celsius at night, which is fairly cool for November, early November anyways. So anyways, it's time to get to work. Okay, I might look a little, I do look a little dusty and old. Maybe a little stuffed up too. Should have wore a dust mask. Just an update on my operator error from last night or yesterday afternoon. I tried to save as much of the corn that I could that was dry, but it was a very difficult process. So I'll show you what I ended up doing. I have this bin right here, which I plan on using for wet corn. I'll fill it at the end of the drying season, but if we get a good run and we want to get some corn off before the weather turns bad, this is my backup wet bin. I won't fill it full, just kind of enough to give us a couple days drying. The moisture is high enough on the corn that I don't want to have too much sitting around before I can dry it. We have aeration fans that will cool it so it's not critical, but I don't really want it sitting around for much more than 2 days probably. That is our hopper bin, and that's where the wet corn was supposed to go. Instead, it went into that bin right there on top of the dry corn. I tried to core out the center and save the dry, but pretty much wet corn started coming out right away. So I basically filled that full. The overhead, which would have been full anyways yesterday if it went there. So it let me get the bulk of the wet stuff in there. I think the last little bit going in the top was about 22%. So there was some dry corn in it. So I'll have to dry this wet bin of kind of mostly wet corn, but I'll have some dry in it. So I'm going to change some parameters in my controller so I don't super over dry it, and we'll get through that. What we have to deal with here is this stuff in here. I'll just show you. Oh, yeah. It's weird. I wouldn't say it's weird. It's kind of like anywhere from 16% to 19%. So I think what I'm going to do is actually combine some corn today. We'll just dump a wet on top of this, and we'll just, for what's in there is probably 1,000 bushels, maybe not quite that much. But we'll just maybe combine, as I said, some wet corn. We'll dump it on top of that. By the time it all kind of gets blended off, it'll be more typical of what the moisture should be, or it'll be probably closer to what I'm drying. And I think that gets us through our mistake. But what we need to do is have a little note on the panel where we control the pit and unload the wet corn to say, please make sure distributor is in proper location before unloading wet grain. So we'll put a note here or here. I'll probably write it on Sharpie, the Sharpie marker right there. Newbie problems. Never had a grain system like this before, so it was bound to happen at some point, and it did, and now we'll fix it. And we did. While we fixed it, will it happen again? Likely, but we'll try not to have it happen again. So I'm just going to let the generator cool down for about 10 or 15 minutes, check the oil on it, fuel it up again, and see what Sandy's up to for the rest of the day, and decide if we're going to combine corn or not. So anyways, disaster averted again. Welcome to combining corn in Ontario in November. Usually it's not this bad. I don't know what today is. I think it's the 6th of November, but yeah, that's snow, and we're gonna get shut down here. So we got not much done today. At least got this side of the farm finished off, but it's just starting to build up enough now that they ain't worth it. So gonna shut down. And on a side note, the leg's plugged. The generator shut off right when Sandy was emptying a load of corn, and so now it's full, and I gotta open it up and get all the corn cleaned out of it. So great day, great day. I think I'm just gonna get that leg unplugged and crawl into bed and go to sleep for a while, because it's just not a good day. So that concludes today's festivities. Last couple days actually haven't been horrible. We've had some minor hiccups. We're still working the kinks out of the new system in terms of what causes alarms and what those alarms do. And I had some assumptions in my mind that were wrong, and that's why we ended up plugging the leg here this afternoon. So we got it unplugged. Sandy helped with that, and it's still snowing. It doesn't look bad. It's not bad. Little white, not horrible. I think this is third year in a row, I'm pretty sure, 99% sure we've actually combined now corn when there's been snow. So it's just what we do. We persevere, we dig deep, and we keep at it. And tomorrow's another day, and hopefully it goes better than some of these other days. But I think tomorrow we'll just be getting ready to kind of winterize some stuff and get ready for this crappy weather. But with that, we'll see you soon.